Is this thing on? Hello? Okay. Hey, SA Kids Karate families and friends. Listen, today we have an exciting video for you. In fact, it's going to be something completely different than we've ever seen. And it started with the Black Belt Club video, training video that we did a few days ago. The video had Mr. Cesar Vela and Mr. Angelo Cantu. We were talking about leadership and leadership qualities and traits, historical figures, personal figures, and both of them, for their personal figures, guess what? Ended up talking about Sensei Gabe and Sensei Dennis. If you haven't seen it, we're going to put it out there for everybody to see. It's a great, actually what we're going to do is we're going to make it a part of this montage. So this video is going to be in several parts, but I think it's a very sincere, uplifting video. You're going to find out things like love with SA Kids Karate, some fun moments, some dad stories with both Sensei Gabe and I. So stay tuned. I think you're going to really enjoy this video. And don't forget, keep on getting online, have fun, and train hard.
With the owner and chief instructor, Dan Gonzalez. And we're here with one of our original senseis, Sensei Gabe Cantu.
Everyone's favorite sensei.
Everyone's favorite sensei, right? So I just have a few questions for you guys.
Basically, it was a response to having some friends and colleagues that had kids, and they were talking about how much they really just did not like the traditional daycare setting. You know, their kids were 7 or 8, 9. They were just stuck in a sandbox playing outside and just kind of being warehoused until their mom and dad picked them up. So that was the catalyst for thinking about something different with SA Kids Karate.
So I moved to the San Antonio area back in '99, and at the time I was taking some part-time classes at UTSA and working retail at Gap, and just, you know, time passed.
Drove a little Ford Ranger truck.
Drove a Ford Ranger truck forever. And I think around 2001, my brother, who's also in the martial arts industry, had some thoughts about purchasing a school out here in San Antonio. Well, unbeknownst to me, the school that he was thinking about buying into was, you know, Dan had a part in that business as well with the owner. At that time, Dan had already stepped down, and I started teaching there for, I think, I don't know, a few months in the summertime.
Yeah, a few months.
And long story short, things kind of fell through. I stepped away, and a lot of the parents were like, "Hey, you got to meet this guy, Dan. He was the instructor here. He was really great, nice guy." And I think they gave me his number. And so for the longest time, we played phone tag because, you know, I wasn't working. I was still taking a few classes.
We did play phone tag for a while.
For quite some time. And, you know, I'd call him, leave a message, he'd call back, and so forth. Finally, you know, we were able to connect with one another. Came down and interviewed. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come teach a class and just kind of see, you know, what you're about and whatnot." And to me, teaching it's like breathing.
Right.
You know, I love the martial arts. It's just something it's been a passion with me since I was a young boy. And since then, you know, the rest is history. I think I started, it was shortly after September of 2001.
You know, and I had some parents that were here already, and they were saying the same thing. "Oh, we know this one instructor, and he's getting ready to leave another school. You need to get him over here. And if you can get him over here, it'd be great. It'd be a great addition to you." And the funny thing was, what Gabe didn't tell you, was that both of us were a little leery about meeting each other because of the school that we were at. We both walked away because things were so kind of, I don't know what the word, we'll just call it kind of screwy. And so we walked away, and we were both going, well, if he was associated with it, maybe he's that way too. So we were both kind of second guessing the other person's.
Guy?
Yeah, who was this guy? And but as soon as we met, we found out that we had a huge history, or similar history, similar stories, and we both had traditional training in Okinawan karate, and that was really the the spark that ignited it. And like Sensei Gabe said, once he got on board with the kids and teaching, I'm like, oh, this guy's, he's just like me. And so that was kind of how it was born. And like it's been here, since 2001 until 2019 when he kind of, went in a different direction. That's a whole other story that we'll probably get into. But it was just a very seamless transition to have him come here and teach, and the parents loved him, kids loved him, and it's been a great story ever since.
Well, my dad was a big part of that. He implemented the thought process. Once you start something, you're not gonna quit until you're done.
The interesting thing is we have so similar histories. Our dads were both veterans, both Vietnam veterans, and both of our dads had a huge part in not only getting us in martial arts, but staying in martial arts. And like I said, when we first met, we found out we had a lot in common, and our dads pushing us was one of the things, that is really responsible for both of our martial arts history.
Going back to the question, when was my aha moment? It was when I broke my arm. I was big into skateboarding. I think it was like 10 or 11. And broke my arm. Dad was furious because he bought me these expensive gloves that I was supposed to wear to help prevent injuries like that. And I said, all right, well, cool. At that time, I was karate was a little bit on the back burner, and I was more into skateboarding. Well, they casted up my arm, and I thought, all right, cool. I don't have to do karate anymore. This is the way out. No, that wasn't the case at all. So you're still going to practice. You got that nice hard cast on. You do kata. You don't have to spar anymore. You're going to do kata, and that, kind of put in my head. Well, you know what? I just got to keep doing it. It's not gonna stop, and it just kind of helped fortify that mentality of, what? Yes, there are going to be hiccups in life, whether it's physically or mentally, but you just got to keep going, and finish the mission.
I would have to say my first aha experience came when I went to my very first tournament and I competed. But unlike Sensei Gabe, I was not victorious. I lost everything. In the first sit down, you're done. And I thought, boy, this is kind of a waste of time. I have to either do this with some passion and conviction to get better, or this is going to be my life, sitting, losing all the time, and I just didn't want to lose all the time. That's a horrible feeling. So that was my first aha experience. And my next aha experience would probably have to say when I had to make a decision, because I knew we were going to rotate back to the States, and I was already a brown belt, and it was, if I stop to play football and baseball this year, I will not have time to test for my black belt. Right. So it was, I had to make a decision. If I quit to play baseball and football, I'm not going to have time to test. So finally, my big aha experience was, I'm pretty good at this, and I'll never have a chance to do this again once I get back to the States. I just tested my black belt. So I stopped playing sports that year, and sure enough, I think I tested for my black belt in March, that first week in March, and by the end of March, we got our orders to go back to the States, and we left on an emergency medical transfer out. So I barely got my black belt, junior black belt, in 1977. So that was probably my big aha moment, and I just never looked back. It's very rare you find people that have been doing martial arts 20, 30, 40 years, but almost all of them do so because they've started, and almost all of them do so when they were young, and almost all of them do so because of a parent. Most kids aren't going to eat this stuff up. It takes somebody there pushing them, just like piano lessons or guitar lessons or homework or anything. Very few kids are self-starters and going to want to do this right off the bat. Yeah. So thank God for our parents. Yeah. And I remember when I graduated high school, I was tying my black belt on before class. My father came with me, and I said, "Thanks, Dad," because I never would have been able to do this, without you pushing me.
Well, to me, it's huge to be able to have had the opportunity to share the deck with both sons. You know, Angelo, who's 10 now, just, you know, he got promoted. When was it? Was that in May?
In May.
Last May,
Yeah.
with his junior black belt, and of course Emiliano, he's still working at it. But again, it's just huge to share the deck with them and share the values of, you know, of courtesy, respect, and discipline. Because again, you know, learning how to punch and kick, in my opinion, and we share the same beliefs, is a byproduct of the martial arts. You know, the bigger picture is, you know, what kind of person are they going to be? What kind of character are they going to hope to develop and maintain? So, as an instructor and a father to, you know, 2 sons who are also students, you know, whether they win a ton of tournaments or they have the best kata or in the flashiest, you know, the best at sparring, I don't care too much about that. I care about, you know, their ability to follow instructions.
What kind of man are they going to be?
What kind of young man are they going to be? Because, you know, they're gonna go on to you know, lead the state, lead this, you know, this country, and we have to be able to shape and mold their young minds in a positive direction, the most positive direction we can.
Current leader, not a historical leader, but a leader that you might see in your everyday life. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Angelo.
I see my dad in my everyday life, and he taught me a lot. He even bring me to this class to make me learn.
Okay. And for those of you who don't know, Angelo's dad is Sensei Gabe Cantu, who is actually a founding member of SA Kids Karate. He was with us back in 2001, all the way up until about 2019. So that's a great role model, your father. What's besides bringing you here, what's one lesson that sticks out in your mind with your father? Can you think of something like that?
Yeah. He taught me how to be respectful and discipline me.
I think it's quite telling. If you had had this interview, you know, 20 years ago or 19 years ago when we first started, Gabe and I would have probably said something like, "You want to make the best black belts and the best fighters you can make."
Yeah.
Not that we ever Cobra Kai, but we looked at things differently back then. Now, we know that 1% of these kids are going to get black belts. So we can look at that as, well, we're wasting our time. But somewhere, something clicked and became pivotal in that we didn't see our jobs as creating black belts. I mean, that is our ultimate goal. But something that supersedes that is now we look at it as, like Sensei said, we're creating good citizens for the world. And I think that's what's really needed. So, like you said, it doesn't matter how well you punch or kick or do your kata, because in 10 years or 15 years, these kids probably won't be doing karate. Much like great athletes in high school, a few years after high school, they're not doing it anymore. But how did we, I think both of us look at our jobs now when we're teaching as, how do we shape these kids to become successful in their day-to-day life? Whether it's even in elementary school or doing our homework, interviewing for jobs, what kind of confidence do we have when we go in there? I think those are the biggest tools that we see as being able to teach, because it takes a lot to get out there and fight, to get hit, to fall down, to get back up. It takes a lot to train hard over and over again, to go to a tournament and then lose, and then go to the next tournament and then win. I remember going to tournaments, looking at the same kids all the time, going, I don't even know why you're here. You're wasting your time. You lose all the time. They should just let me go up there and fight because I'm going to beat all you guys. And that was my attitude in high school. So definitely not my attitude now. But looking back now, as an older man, I see those kids that are going all the time and losing. They're doing what I do. They're not giving up. And that's a huge, huge lesson in life. And I'd probably say if there's number one lesson that Sensei Gabe and I would want to foster, is just don't give up. And Sensei Gabe has been doing this, since he was five years old. I didn't start it. I started when I was 10. Yeah. But you see the type of man that he is, and I saw back in 2004. I had my second son, and he's named Gabriel. His namesake. And that's, you know, a profound way of, I guess for me, saying, man, I love you like a brother, and thank you for being such a great role model for these kids, and I'm going to name my kid after you. People don't know is that Sensei Gabe met his wife here. Maybe you should tell us that story.